Welcome to 843 TV. I'm your host, Wayne Morris with WHHI-TV.
And I'm Will Wareham with WHHI-TV.
And today is a very special 843 TV. We're coming to you from Parris Island Marine Corps Base, and it's been a pleasure to be here. We're having a great time.
These doors you only walk through once, and that is as a Marine Corps recruit.
And our first guest is Captain David Murray. He is the Planning, Operations, and Training Director here on Parris Island, and he's going to be telling us all about the history of Parris Island, how the base started and formed, all the way up to their 100th anniversary, which is coming up very soon.
Our second guest is Sergeant Garcia Green, who is the voice of Parris Island. You hear her voice on the PA announcement if you're a Beaufort resident. And she's going to tell us about the events surrounding the 100th celebration.
And our final guest is Joe Lee, who's a town councilman with Port Royal. Obviously, this Marine Corps base is in Port Royal, so he's going to talk to us all about how the relationship with the town and with the base works, and also talk to us about how the town is involved in the 100th celebration. So stay with us. It's going to be a great episode of 843 TV,
where communities come to speak.
843 TV, where Bluffton comes to speak.
Where Spring Island comes to speak.
Where Hilton Head Island comes to speak.
Where Port Royal comes to speak.
.843 TV,
where communities come to speak. Welcome to 843 TV. We now have the pleasure to be joined by Captain David Murray, who is the Planning Officer, Operations and Training Director here on Parris Island in Port Royal. How are you today?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it. So this place has a lot of history.
Absolutely.
What can you tell us about the history and founding of Parris Island?
Well, Parris Island here, we have a very rich history. First of all, we were actually a naval base first, Naval Station Port Royal. Marines were first assigned to that naval station in 1891, serving as a guard force to protect the interests of the Navy in securing the dry dock. It was through lobbying of the state legislation that established a Marine barracks in April of 1915. Now, when the Navy migrated north to Charleston, the Marines ended up taking over the base and started the transfer of property. So on October 25th is when we started to transfer property from the Navy over into the Marine Corps, and the Marine barracks headquarters was established. And then from there, on 1 November, the last property from the Navy was transferred over, and we've become the cradle of the Corps ever since, training new Marines going through entry-level training on Parris Island.
Well, we're proud to have you guys here in Beaufort County. So it was was that during the Civil War? It was a naval base?
1891, right? Just slightly after.
Okay,
it.
after.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we, and that's when Marines were first assigned to. But very rich history. I know this site was selected because it has one of the, is very fitting for a naval installation, given our close location to the ocean as well.
Deep harbor. So what are some of the significant events that have taken place here in the last 100 years?
Well, actually the most significant
today.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of these significant events actually take place before that 100 years too. We're the home of the Santa Elena and Charles Fort National Historic Landmarks, which is very unique in itself because those two settlements in the 1560s predate the founding of Jamestown actually too. And that's located right here aboard the base. And that's something that a lot of people don't know or realize, that we have a lot of predated history here as well. In addition to that too, a lot of these bases, the buildings on base are part of this, the National Historic Landmarks, either registered or eligible for them too. So in the historic district further up on the northeast side of the base, where the old dry dock is, and you still can see that dry dock and the old buildings, those are very historical and very old themselves too. And we do a lot to preserve that history here. Everything from those old buildings to Quarters 1, which used to be the General's House too. So.
Yeah, we're real proud to have the Marines protect our historic facts.
Absolutely.
Now, why is the Centennial celebration important?
Well, the Centennial celebration is important because it's very unique that we have achieved 100 years of continuous recruit training operations. We are the second oldest post in the Corps, which is significant. The oldest post being 8th and I. With 100 years of continual recruit training operations too, we've been there to support all of our nation's major conflicts since World War I and continuing on. Over the past 100 years, there have been over 1 million recruits that have been trained here and going all over the world to support the various conflicts over that time period as well. So it's a very significant achievement in that, and we look forward to celebrating it, most definitely.
And so how are you planning to do that?
We'll have to leave it on that one, absolutely.
The way the Marines do it, right?
Yeah. So there's three essential things that we want to tailor to on the Centennial celebration. One, we have to honor our ties to the Low Country too. It was through the Low Country that, and the solicitation of the Low Country, that we were established first as a naval facility and then a Marine barracks as well. So we want to extend our invitation to Low Country residents, because a lot of people live in this area for a long time and maybe never come aboard base, you know, either playing at the golf course, or they've never seen a graduation, never seen a family day, and witnessed the energy and the patriotism from that, you know, one event. And it's truly amazing if you've never seen it before too. So we want to open that invitation in. Second, we want something for Parris Island alumni, if you will. Once again, a lot of, you know, over 1 million recruits gone through here over the past 100 years. So we want to invite all those you know, former Marines or still active Marines to come back to their roots and experience what Parris Island is now too. And that's an important part of it. And third, and one of the most important things too, are the new Marines and their families. So our main celebration on 14, 15, and 16 October, that's going to incorporate that graduating company as well. And we want to have a big event that has a lot of history tied to it, that will continue to tailor to the recruit and their families too, because it's the recruit that makes us, you know, the institution that we are, and that process that we go through as well.
Absolutely. So some of our viewers who may be residents but haven't come on base, do you have anything in particular that you'd like to let them know that they can come to on the 100th anniversary?
Well, we'll be covering those in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I know on the 14th, 15th, and 16th, there's, I mean, we have, you know, a final golf tournament addition to, you know, witnessing the key events of, you know, the transformation into a United States Marine, from the Family Day ceremony, the motivational run, and then a graduation on that Friday as well, with the addition of an 8th and I performance in the evening too, to kind of cap it off.
Very cool.
So it's going to be a very, you know, very good monumentous event right there.
So you alluded to it a minute ago. Where can our viewers get more information?
Absolutely.
Sign up.
More information can be found on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Parris Island. Very simple from that. And then also on our command webpage as well, mcrdpi.marines.mil. On that webpage, you can see a lot of current happenings on the recruit training base. In addition to that, there's a separate tab for the Centennial celebration, where you can see a lot of old historical photos, historical articles that are being prepared by our command museum here on the base. And in addition to that too, we have a schedule of events that will detail further information from there.
That's great. Well, I appreciate your time.
Oh,
Thank you for having us. It's always fun to come on base.
Absolutely.
And see the recruits coming in that people can probably hear and see. It's always a pleasure, so thanks for having us.
Absolutely, sir.
And stay with us. We'll be back with more 843 TV.
Welcome back to 843 TV. We are now joined by Sergeant Brittany Garcia Green, who is the voice of Parris Island. Our Beaufort viewers who are watching may have heard Sergeant Garcia Green's voice coming over the loudspeaker from Parris Island. So welcome, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Please tell us, what are some of the upcoming events open to the public that will help usher in the Centennial celebration?
Well, we have several events we'll be hosting that are all going to be open to the public. The first one that we have is the Earth Day and Iron Bike Tour, which will be hosted on April 25th. And then following that, we're going to have our the Centennial Celebration 100K relay race. and that will also include a 5K run and a 5K family walk. And that's going to be hosted on the 16th of May. And then our last one, which is a little bit bigger event, it's going to be the golf course Parris Island golf tournament.
Okay.
That's going to be a series of 4 events, starting on June 1st and then continuing on until July 11th, September 12th, and October 14th.
Okay, and so the public is invited and welcome to participate in all of these events, is that correct?
Yes, they are, yes, that is correct.
Cool. And so there's a golf tournament, and then there's a 100K run, and for those of us who might not be able to make the 100K, there's a smaller 5K, is that correct?
Yes, a 5K walk and a 5K run, yes.
Okay,
and of course, we're going to talk more about all of those. So.
Okay, good deal, all right.
Well, what can you tell us about the Earth Day Iron Bike Tour?
The Iron Bike Tour is pretty much a 15-mile tour throughout Parris Island, and there will be archaeologists along the route that are going to give more information about the different landmarks throughout the base. That is significant to us because the Iron Mike is actually a statue that's located on Parris Island, and that statue is dedicated to all the Marines that were killed in action, all the Marines who graduated from Parris Island in the past during World War I. So, yes, and they're also, like I said before, there's also going to be a nature walk a 5K family run, and a 5K walk. So.
But I think we're all excited about the 100K. I know we've been in meetings about that, and I can't believe the planning that's going into this. So tell us how that works.
The 100K, well, that's definitely going to be one of our more exciting events.
Yeah, I would guess.
100 kilometers. Needless to say, the 100 kilometers, it is a way for us to honor the 100 years in the Marine Corps. For that 100, it's going to be broken up. You know, we're not going to expect you to go out there and run 100K. There will be 12 members.
Captain Murray.
Except Captain Murray, yes. There's going to be 12 members per team, and they'll each have their own leg in the race. And so it's going to break it up to about five miles for each one.
So you run around Parris Island twice, I think?
Yes, you're
and
going.
then leave and go through Port Royal.
Well, it's actually, you start under the We Make Marine sign,
Right.
and then from there, go around the base, and then exit the gate, and then go into Port Royal, and then from there, the Naval Hospital.
Yes, and that
Which
route
you may need
you'll
to be
run
at after running all that.
Well, you got to do it again after that, too. There's actually two. That's two
You have to do
routes.
that twice. And that's takes almost all day, I mean, to run this race.
Yes, it is. Now, of course, you know, everyone's not filling out for this 100K, so we are going to also be offering that day the 5K run and a 5K walk as well.
Right. Busy day for everybody.
Yes, busy day.
I'm more of a golfer, so tell me about the golf tournaments. I don't think we run that much. So.
The golf tournaments are going to be very unique, not only because they are located right on our Charles Fort and Santa Elena landmark area, and that it's also one of our largest training areas here on the base. So not only because of that, but because it's going to be broken down into 4 different events. The first 3 are going to be significantly referencing the 3 phases of recruit training. And then the 4th one is going to be simulating our culminating event here, which is called the Crucible. So once they've completed that 4th event, they will go on to proceed with the Warrior Breakfast. They will have an award ceremony, and that will be it.
So are you looking for teams to participate in the golf tournaments, or just individuals, or what?
It's going to be teams. So it's
Teams
going
of
to be
4?
It's going to be a point race format too. So you start off with teams of 4, and then the second and third one you will play in a foursome, but it will be teams of 2, and then the final will be a foursome as well.
And that's open to civilians.
Once again, open to civilians.
Anybody
as well.
that wants to play golf?
Yeah, and that's a really nice
Yeah.
golf course that's open to the public if you just want to come out and play. Is that correct?
It is.
Yes.
That is true.
Yes, it's a beautiful area.
Okay, so for our viewers watching, how do they learn more, and how do they sign up to participate in some of these events?
Well, they can learn more information by visiting our website or our Parris Island Facebook.
Okay.
If they would like to register for any of the events, they can go on to the Marine Corps Community Services website, which is www.mccs-sc.com.
All right. And so for some of our viewers who live in Beaufort and hear your voice on a daily basis, can we get a sample of how you greet the Marines and the recruits in the morning?
I guess the first thing I'd say is good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island.
Great.
So,
Well, thank you very much, Sergeant Garcia, for joining us today. And please come back for one more segment of 843 TV.
Welcome back to 843 TV. We are now joined by Town Councilman of Port Royal, Joe Lee. Joe, how are you?
I'm great.
Thanks for this great idea. This has been fun talking to everybody and learning so much about the 100th year celebration.
We're really pleased to host Parris Island, and I think this is a great opportunity for everybody to learn about it.
How is the town of Port Royal directly associated with the Marine Recruit Department at Parris Island?
Well, our history is pretty well tied to the Marine Corps because the town was actually chartered in 1874 as part of putting the Navy base here. And then then it transformed in the early 1900s to a Marine base. We've been associated with this all along. And so many of the town population work here. And also have worked here and have passed through here. A lot of times people pass through Parris Island and then end up retiring from the Marine Corps and coming back to Port Royal.
And the tourism aspect of it too. I mean, every 2 weeks there's graduation, right? I mean, all those families coming in, that's great for the local economy.
Absolutely, and we host a ton of these people, and we love it because we get to see the families transform as they see their child that left home and now is a Marine, and they go, holy cow.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I mean, look what they did in 13 weeks. I couldn't do in 18 years. You know? And it's great. I mean, we love that part of it.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So how do the recruits who pass through Parris Island affect Port Royal?
Well, first of all, all the recruits, this 1 million recruits that have come through here have come through Port Royal. And with them in the later years, their families have come for graduation. So that is a huge boost to the economy. And in addition, I mean, now the families come on Wednesday and leave on Friday, so that's an extra day that they're in the area. Certainly not just Port Royal. We couldn't house whatever 5,000 visitors on a weekend, but we do have a lot of properties in Port Royal that are rented out short term, and that's where these families stay, and we're proud to have them. Plus, I mean, on a daily basis, we interact with the base here all the time, so that's great. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, sir, what has changed in the recruit process over the years?
Well, I think the biggest thing that you guys have already talked about, but for Port Royal, the first, up until 1962 or 63, all the recruits came by train. And they came by train to Yemassee, and then a Yemassee train brought them here to Port Royal, and they would disembark from the train, get on a bus, and come over here to Parris Island. And there are stories about back then when they had their civilian clothes. This was during the Depression. They had their civilian clothes. They would just get rid of their civilian clothes in Port Royal and put on fatigues. And the residents of Port Royal would pick up the civilian clothes and redo them and either sell them or use them themselves. It was in the Depression, and they didn't have any, you know, it was
free
tough
clothes.
times. Yeah, so they were really closely tied to Parris Island. Plus, I mean, we interact in so many different ways. It's just unbelievable. I mean, we see these guys all the time.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about the future of recruit training here at Parris Island?
Oh, I hope it's glorious. No, I think we're working now. We've just finished a joint land use study with Parris Island, and also, as a matter of fact, a separate one with the air station. But that defines how the town interacts with the base, and it incorporates a lot of civilian input and a lot of military input. So we really do see a long-term relationship here, and we're very flexible in terms of how we can help and do things. I think it gets better all the time. And we got folks like this that interact with us, and that's great. That makes it really, really great.
So the 100th year celebration, the event of the year, how was the town involved?
Well, I mean, we championed this thing from the beginning, and we've participated, of course, in the 100K race. It's a big job. We talk about it like it's not a big deal, but believe me, when you tie up all of this property for a whole Saturday,
sure,
and they interact with things like the farmers market and the town, and it's just a huge event. And we're happy to do it. It really does make a lot of sense. And we feel then at the end, in October when this comes on, it's going to tie in that end weekend is going to be the same weekend as our Oktoberfest in town. So that we wanted to do that, and the Marine Corps wanted to do it that way. And so it's going to be a huge opportunity for everybody to enjoy the area. And then in the following weekend, we're going to have another event which will be associated with the museum and the historic part of it. So all of that these guys have done a great job of putting all this together and just getting started, as a matter of fact.
Right. So, you know, obviously I'm a Beaufort County resident, and you know, I have a lot of pride that we have this base here in the county, but it being so directly tied to your town, I mean, what does that say about Port Royal, and how does it, you know, just from a pride standpoint, reflect on the town of Port Royal? Well,
a couple of things. Let me say up front that the visitors here, most of them stay south of the Broad because that's where the hotels are.
Right.
We have a few here in Beaufort, and we have very few in Port Royal, but the vast majority stay south of the Broad, so that's a huge economic impact there. But with us, it's the interaction of the people that are stationed here and the civilians that work here, and the fact that it's such a small town. We're only 10,000 people. And if you take an example, of Fort Jackson up in Columbia, Fort Jackson is a huge base, but it's also in the capital of South
It's a big
Carolina.
town, yeah.
So it's overpowered by places like the university and the hospitals and everything. Here, it's us in the Marine Corps, and we're really, really proud
Yeah,
of that.
that's a good partner.
Yeah. How can you beat that, right? Yeah. And we enjoy it.
Well, thank you so much for organizing this, and thanks for your time. We always enjoy being here.
Well, this is a fun thing to do. This
is.
is out here and this, you kidding?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching 843 TV.
Where communities come to speak.